Hello, welcome to the Federal Show. I am Giri Prakash, and with me is our guest for the day, Mr. Paranjoy Guha Thakurta. And one of the reasons why we have him as our guest is largely because of a recent report called the Hindenburg report, which mentions Mr. Thakurta's name very prominently. And this report actually led to the near collapse of the industrialist Gautam Adani's held publicly listed shares. But before that, I would like to introduce Paranjoy as an editor, writer, publisher, and documentary filmmaker and a teacher. He was earlier the editor of the Economic and Political Weekly and is now associated with NewsClick, a digital news portal. He has been a guest faculty member at several IIMs, including Ahmedabad, Calcutta, Shillong, and JNU as well. And he has held leadership positions with major media houses like Business India, Business World, The Telegraph, India Today, and The Pioneer. His 2014 book, Gas Wars, Crony Capitalism, and Ambani's, co-authored with Subir Ghosh and Jyotirmay Chaudhary, dealt with alleged irregularities in the prices of natural gas in the Indian market. He recently released another book along with Ravi Nair on the Rafale deal called The Flying Lies. So, as I said earlier, the significant issue today is about the 106-page report, the Hindenburg, which published it recently, and which talks about Gautam Adani and his shares. Thank you, Paranjoy, for coming for this show.
Thank you, Giri Prakash, for inviting me to your this discussion, and thank you to all the viewers of the Federal.
Thank you, Paranjoy. Let me start by asking you about the mentions that has been made about you in the Hindenburg report, which obviously is very, very clear that you have been investigating this group of companies for quite a long time, and there have been cases filed as well against you. Can you please tell us what are the early signs that led you to look at this group in a very focused manner?
Giri Prakash, I was not the only journalist who was trying to examine the working of the Adani group of companies. Yes, I published a series of articles about the group. The ones I published in 2015 essentially collated information that was already in the public domain. There was nothing new. The first article that I wrote as the editor of the Economic and Political Weekly in April of 2016 broke the news that there had been alerts sent to all the customs centers in India that they should be careful about how invoicing of coal and equipment for generating power equipment, equipment for generating electricity was being imported. Because the Directorate of Revenue Intelligence, which is the intelligence wing of the Department of Revenue in the Ministry of Finance, suspected there was a lot of over-invoicing going on. So there were 40 odd companies named in that list. Among them were several companies belonging to the Adani Group. Subsequently, a show cause notice was served, and these were articles that I published one after the other, which were based on show cause notices issued by the DRI. Then there was a report which talked about how Adani Group countries were allegedly misusing export benefits while exporting cut and polished diamonds and gold jewelry. Then there were several other reports that came, and the last report that appeared in the Economic and Political Weekly was in June 2017. That talked about how the rules pertaining to power projects, and especially in economic zones, had been tweaked. And there was one big beneficiary, and that was Adani Power. it also raised the question as how the government of India was processing an application for refund of customs duties worth 500 crore rupees, over 500 crore rupees. Why the government was processing this application without first checking whether the taxes had been paid. You think you paid more income tax, so you apply for a refund to the income tax department, and they give you the refund if they feel you have made a genuine demand or a genuine claim. In this case, the Ministry of Finance, the Department of Commerce, and the Ministry of Commerce and Industry were processing this application. There was a hue and cry. Finally, that refund never happened.
So when you go into the Hindenburg report, if you look at the timing of the report ahead of the FOP, and Hindenburg is known for being a short seller, and sorry. So if you look at it, if you look at the way the share prices crashed, there is this allegation against. Would this report would have done the same kind of damage to the Adani shares if it was released later or much earlier?
Giri Prakash, the fact that it was released on the 24th of January, the day before the follow-on public offer of shares worth 20,000 crore was to begin the following day, was clearly, it was timed for that purpose. The Hindenburg report clearly mentions that Hindenburg Research, they describe themselves as activist short sellers. They were clear that they had taken positions in the market and would stand to gain if the public, if the share prices came down, which is exactly what happened on the 25th. And clearly, Hindenburg Research said that, they disclosed their intentions. And if you look at the history and the track record of this company, of this American company, at least 5 instances where they have shorted, as they say, shorted the supply, shorted companies, shares tanked, and at least 2 of those companies have gone under. So yes, they have a track record in doing what they did. A lot of people ask me, did you help Hindenburg, the Hindenburg Research? And my response is, no, I'd never even heard of Hindenburg Research before this report came out. As far as I know, Hindenburg was the president of Germany when Hitler was in power. In the 40s, Germany designed this Zeppelin, this spaceship, and that caught fire. People died. And I subsequently came to know that the company, Hindenburg Research, had been named because it was supposed to epitomize man-made disasters. But to answer your question, several of us, me, people I work with, other independent journalists like Abir Das Gupta, with Ravi Nair, other journalists, we've been reporting and writing about various aspects of the Adani Group for over 5 years, over 6 years. 5 years ago, in my personal website, paranjoy.in, there's a microsite which is called the A Files, which is Adani Files. If you go to that website, and any and every one of your readers are welcome to visit it, I put out several documents. There were legal reports, there were show cause notices issued by the Directorate of Revenue Intelligence, and all these are in the public domain. These are voluminous documents, runs into hundreds of pages, and people are most welcome to download these and read them. I can't help it if some people don't want to read. Some of my dear brothers and sisters in the media don't want to read many things, even when it's staring at them in the face. So yes, it's a fact that a fairly substantial part of the information which is there in the Hindenburg report, the allegations in the Hindenburg report, were already in the public domain. They went through all those papers, all those documents, they connected the dots, they added a lot to it. I mean, they made it clear that the investigation that lasted for 2 years, they visited tax havens like Mauritius and Cyprus and British Cayman Islands. They went through the company registries and they unearthed several instances of what are called related party transactions. Several alleged allegations of misdemeanors are there. So it's up to the Indian investigating authorities, it's up to the market regulator, like the Securities and Exchange Board of India, like the Reserve Bank of India, and other agencies of the government of India to confirm the veracity of these allegations or deny them. As a journalist, it was my job to put it out in the public domain. I've been doing so for the last 6 years or so. And it's up to the authorities, up to the government authorities, it's up to the regulatory bodies to determine whether these allegations have any basis or not. A person I worked with, Ravi Nair, wrote about the foreign portfolio investors which are in these tax havens a long time ago, over a year ago, almost a year and a half ago. It's been reported. There are two other media organizations that are mentioned in the Hindenburg report. These include the television channel CNBC. It also includes the Economic Times. So much of this information is already...
So that's exactly my point. My point is that that's what the group also talks about, the fact that much of this information is already available in public, but the fact that this 106-page report actually did a huge amount of damage. Why this report actually ends up doing that when there were already a whole lot, including your research, your publications of articles. It's some people say that some of the critics say that this was all brought together in this 106-page report and nothing beyond that, even though it is a research was conducted over 2 long years. So what made the Adani backed listed entities shares have such a kind of collapse?
Very frankly, I can't answer that question. I mean, why the shares collapsed? Your guess could be as good as mine. Clearly, there were people who were players in the stock exchanges, in the Bombay Stock Exchange, in the National Stock Exchange, who were of the view, of a certain point of view. I mean, I can't comment on this further. If, as Mr. Adani's lawyers, as his supporters argue that these allegations are baseless, these allegations are old, these allegations are stale, this is misinformation, the question would naturally arise as to if indeed it was so, why did the share prices collapse? And this is a question that is best answered by others. I am, because of the gag orders on me from the courts of law, I'll stick to facts while responding to you. I would prefer not to pass any opinion as to why something happened, whether it's good or whether it's bad, whether it's desirable or undesirable. I'll refrain. I don't want to be hauled up for contempt of court. I am merely stating facts that are known to large numbers of people, facts that are already in the public domain.
One also sees that today, most of the Adani-backed listed entities shares have climbed back to around 18 to 20% or slightly more. So in some ways, it does look like that it has, the Hindenburg report did have its impact for a very short period of time. But going back to the Adani group itself, the kind of cases that are filed against you, and the fact that critics of the Adani Group have talked about how since 2014 the group has seen a fantastic increase in the wealth of Mr. Gautam Adani and his relatives who are associated with it. The question that I want to ask you is that you have put out another book called The Gas Wars and on the Raffle deal as well. Were such cases filed against you by other companies on which you wrote this book?
No, Giri Prakash. Legal notices have been served on me by various individuals and various organizations or representatives of various organizations. For instance, the Times of India, that is Bennett Coleman Company Limited. Legal notices have been served on me by Subrata Roy Sahara of the Sahara Group. Similarly, after Gas Wars came out in 2014, in the month of April and May of 2014, lawyers representing companies that are headed by Shri Mukesh Ambani and his younger brother Shri Anil Ambani issued legal notices to me, my co-authors, the publisher, even Flipkart for distributing it. But none of them took any of us to court. The legal notices were responded to, and that's where the matter ended.
It ended.
That's right. It's only in the case of Mr. Adani that he has instituted, as I mentioned to you a little while ago, 6 cases of defamation against me in different courts. Why that was so is a question that I cannot answer. Maybe Mr. Gautam Adani will be in a better position to answer that question.
I did read somewhere that you did have a couple of meetings with Gautam Adani. I just want to dwell into that, and I want to know what exactly happened in that meeting and how did it go?
My first meeting with Mr. Gautam Adani took place in May 2017. It was in Mumbai. There was a former colleague of mine on that occasion. Part of that conversation took place in a car as we traveled across the Bandra-Worli Sea Link and continued at a hotel in Nariman Point. A representative of the Corporate Communications Department agreed to arrange this meeting on the condition that everything would be off the record. The second occasion that I met Mr. Gautam Adani was in February 2021. That was a meeting that lasted almost 2 hours. There were 5 people present on that occasion. Mr. Adani, his legal advisor, my lawyer, me, and my wife. And it lasted for an hour and 55. It lasted for an hour and 55 minutes. Once again, I was sworn to secrecy. I was told that this meeting is being held and you cannot talk about it to anybody. The third occasion, I had a longish telephone conversation with Mr. Gautam Adani on WhatsApp, and that was a very recent conversation. So because I was sworn to secrecy, because I agreed to participate or be a part of these meetings where everything would be said off the record, that's all I can suggest. That's all I can tell you. My first meeting, I sought that meeting with Mr. Adani. On the second occasion, my advocate, he sought a meeting. And on the third occasion, I had sent him a message saying I wanted to speak with him. And to my pleasant surprise, he did call me. I asked him if he would withdraw the cases against me, but our discussion remained non-committal. He didn't make any he didn't make any firm commitment.
So there have been discussions between you and the group for coming for an out-of-court settlement or withdrawing those cases. Has there been any progress on that?
Giri Prakash, my second meeting with Mr. Adani that took place in February 2021 was arranged by my advocate in the hope that there would be an out-of-court settlement. But that has evidently not happened, because after that meeting, there have been more cases of defamation that have been instituted against me, against my co-authors, against the portal that published it. I specifically mean Abir Dasgupta, and I also mean NewsClick. And in the two cases on which there's a gag order on me and my colleagues, pertain to an article which was published in NewsClick, and your readers and you are most welcome to have a look at that particular article. It has a headline which is something to that effect, which says Justice Arun Kumar Mishra, who was then the judge of the Supreme Court, a judge of the Supreme Court. The headline said that there was a parting within quotes gift of 8,000 crore to Mr. Adani or the Adani Group. Now, that was deemed to be defamation, and we are challenging that those petitions that are in court, because it has been alleged that we lowered the esteem of the judiciary in the eyes of the public. So that is an article which you may still read and arrive at your own conclusion. I can't go beyond that. My lips have been sealed by the court from September 2020, and that gag order, those gag orders continue as we talk.
So that gag order prevents you from writing more on the Adani Group?
Commenting on the Adani Group. That's the way I would interpret that order, that we cannot, I've been told that we cannot comment on the group. Therefore, all that I've shared with you are facts. I pass no comment.
Okay. Hi, Paranjoy. So I wanted to know what do you think are the reasons how he has become so big, and what are his particular areas of interest?
Giri Prakash, the reasons for his success are very difficult for a person like me to comment on. All I can say is when Mr. Rajat Sharma interviewed Mr. Gautam Adani, he said that the reasons for his success is hard work and hard work and hard work. All I can say is that I don't think there is any corporate conglomerate which has become as big and as quickly as the Adani corporate conglomerate has. You look back at the Tata Group, the Birla Group, the Ambanis, that is the Reliance Group. What you see in the case of Mr. Adani is very few people knew of him 15 or 20 years ago. He was just one more trader in cut and polished diamonds and plastic products. And then until a fortnight ago, he was considered to be the world's second richest man, and then the third richest man, India's richest man, Asia's richest man. As you know, these are based on the valuation of the shares, and after his share prices collapsed, he dropped off that list. But if you just look at the areas which he either has a very, very commanding presence or a dominant presence, it's truly a mind-boggling list. And let me give you that list. The special economic zone at Mundra is the biggest special economic zone in India. Mundra is also the largest private seaport in India. It is the largest container port in India. The biggest port in India, the seaport in India, is the Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust at Nhava Sheva near Mumbai.
Mm-hmm.
Over and above this particular port,
Mm-hmm.
the Adani Group has literally a string of jewels on the west coast and the east coast of India. 12 ports, including some are under development. Then he's operating and controlling Israel's second biggest port. He's running a port terminal in Colombo. He has a port in Australia, Abbott Point. He tried to set up a port in Myanmar, but he didn't get international finance, so that project never took off. So these are the seaports. As far as airports are concerned, he controls 7 airports across the country, including Jaipur and Lucknow and Kochi and Thiruvananthapuram. Guwahati, correct. And he recently acquired the Mumbai airport. And if the Nhava Sheva port picks up and becomes big, then he might overtake the GMR Group as India's biggest airports operator in the private sector, because the GMR Group currently runs the Delhi airport and the Hyderabad airport. So these are seaports and airports. Then let's look into his presence in other areas. The Adani Group is the single biggest generator of electricity using coal in the private sector, and the second biggest generator of electricity in India after the public sector, NTPC, or the National Thermal Power Corporation. It is also the biggest generator of electricity using solar power and renewables like wind energy. It also assembles a lot of that solar equipment. It also is the biggest transmitter of electricity and the biggest distributor of electricity. So after he took over from the Anil Dhirubhai Ambani Group, the electricity distribution interest in Mumbai, he's the biggest distributor of electricity in this country. If you look at coal, he's the biggest importer of coal to India, including from coal mines that he controls in Australia and Indonesia. He's also the biggest miner of coal.
Okay. I was talking to the proxy advisory firm founder and managing director, Sriram, the InGown is called, and he did talk about all these.
I could not understand your question. Will you please repeat it?
I was talking to the proxy advisory firm's founder, and that proxy advisory firm's name is InGown, and he mentioned that the fact that he has a large asset base, so therefore there should be no issues when it comes to anything connected with debt or repaying the debt, or in terms of how is it that shares could have fallen so much. So were you taken by surprise when this exactly happened?
I can't answer that question.
Okay.
I can't answer that question, Giri Prakash. I don't know. Mr. Sriram and InGown are very respected analysts.
No. Did you expect when the Hindenburg report came out? Did you expect the share prices to fall so much?
No, honestly, I didn't expect. His rise has been truly spectacular, but it's happened over the last 2 decades, and particularly in the last few years. But the fall was unexpected. I was taken aback. I certainly did not expect that there would be such a dramatic and a precipitous fall in the prices of his publicly listed shares. Nor could I have imagined that after his 20,000 crore rupee follow-on public offer would be subscribed fully, that it would be withdrawn and the announcement would be made late in the night at after 10:30 p.m. All of these developments, certainly I didn't expect it. It took me by surprise. Maybe others were not surprised, or maybe they were.
Okay. Thanks, Paranjoy, for taking time off to talk to the Federal. Thanks for sharing your experiences as well. Thank you very much.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more interesting updates.